As promised, I'm making this recording to reach those who were unable to come out for Rydan's formal launch a week ago Saturday. The weather mostly behaved, but it was a bit touch and go there. And I know many people were also sick because it's been 2 weeks since the start of school, and that certainly happens. So this is going to be a bit of the same, but also a little bit different. I'm going to end with an excerpt from the book as an example, but I am going to use a different one than the one read at the launch. I am always keen to chat, so reach out with any questions in the comments or through the contact page if you go to my website at dlambertauthor.com. Otherwise, here we go. In 2019, I came forwards with a brand new book, Dragon's Voice, a young adult adventure that was my first book I had published. And I self-published it. I paid someone for the cover. I did all my own formatting. I was damn proud of what came out of it, and I still am. Then COVID hit, and my plans got a bit derailed. I was hoping to release several more books in the world of Espar, but it wasn't going to be as smooth. There was lots of delays. I actually got pregnant and had my second son over COVID as well, so it was a little bit less like we were planned. But I did ultimately decide that I wanted to release the books anyway, despite COVID, because being in isolation really highlighted how important books were, how much we needed those stories to carry on, new stories still coming out. So I did release Dragon's Voice and Soulburner, which are the two books in the Weapons of Espar series, but it was a very quiet affair. Despite that, in the new year of 2021, I caught the attention of the folks at Four Horsemen Publishing down in Florida. With a bit of negotiations, they took on the entire 6-book series, the Son of No Man series, which is another series taking place in Espar. And in a whirlwind, the first book was made available August 25th. It has actually been a dream of mine to be traditionally published, so now somebody else gets the responsibility and the credit for things like the cover and presentation. To a degree, they're also doing a bit of distribution, so that means Rydan is available all over the world, and we'll be touring with some conferences as well in the hands of the publishers. That's super exciting, something I never could have done on my own. The plan now is to release a new book every 3 to 4 months until the full series of 6 plus or minus spin-offs, depending. Until the series of 6 is completed. Thank goodness I have most of it already done, because otherwise that is a little insane by way of release schedule, but I'm a glutton for punishment perhaps. That said, if you do want to keep up to date, know when those books are coming out, best thing to do is sign up for the newsletter. It goes out every first Tuesday of the month. They will give you a sneak peek, earliest warnings on pretty much everything. But also follow me on Facebook or Twitter. You'll find the news comes out there as well. Any breaking news will show up on there, so you can keep up to date. It's going to be pretty epic. It is, as I said, 6-book series. It's an adult series about the foundation of Espar. It's basically built on the principle that history is written by the victors. I did, for fun, want to share a few random facts about the first book, Rydan, before giving you a taste of it. I'm going to give 6 things, which I did not do at the launch. I did 4, so there's a bonus 2 at the end here. In no particular order, here we go. 6 things I'm betting you didn't know about the book Rydan. I wrote the entire series over 4 years while I was at vet school, and Rydan was written over my first year. My brain clearly wanted something to do other than memorizing animal anatomy and biology. So I instead wrote a fantasy novel to exercise the left part of my brain. I had decided to write about the truth behind the legend of the first king of Espar, but I did not expect it to be 6 books long. Point number 2. I did not like Thomas Gallanth when I first started writing about him. He actually still worries me. It's the first time I've ever been scared by one of my own characters. He's such a wolf in sheep clothing that I actually didn't know what he was up to until book 3. I finally figured it out. And he does get better over the course of it, but he's very much an ends justifies a means kind of person, which makes him a bit intimidating. Point number 3. I researched Cockney pronunciation to build Rydan language because I wanted it to be sort of understandable, but then not. It's essentially entirely made up of slang. I was definitely inspired by Broad Scott because I was in Edinburgh at the time. There's a line in the book that reads, the topic that morning in Broken Rydan was either the training methods for fish or the best way to serve quail. Lance had been listening intently, but even he could not tell which it was. And I wrote that because that's definitely how I felt when I was around certain Scottish farmers. If they were going at full tilt, I could follow the conversation so long as I was tracking it. Once I had lost it, if they took a left turn and changed the topic, I was definitely lost. It was sort of English, but then not. All right, point number 4, the random things about Rydan. I drew the character of Sori before I wrote about her. And for those of you who don't know, I'm a mediocre artist. I got the proportions quite a bit off, so the result is she's written as a very short woman, all because of that drawing. She is small but mighty, and you do not want to mess with her. But if you come across her and wonder why she's so short, it's because I can't draw well. Number 5, bonus. The magic system was designed like a computer code, which is not the first time I've seen that done, but it definitely was inspired by my computer science classes when I was at university. It's the sort of idea that if you get the code wrong, it simply doesn't work. It also, magic is very, very literal, so it will do exactly what you told it to, whether that was what you meant to tell it or not. It's very obedient in that regard. I did want to have some consequence to the magic, and because it is channeling of energy, if you screw up but you still have the energy left, it will burn. I guess that was my scientist coming through with the conservation of energy concepts. And last but not least, number 6 of the bonus one scene was inspired by my experiences on a dairy farm, and I will leave it to you to figure out which scene. So, okay, I am now going to read a small section out of the book Rydan, and we'll jump right into it. As they approached the rivers that marked Poltheon's borders, the land was largely hills grazed by sheep and goats. The occasional stump, usually large enough to be a table for a dozen people, reminded them that the land had once been treed. The burned tree husks were at various stages of becoming mounds of moss, leaving plenty of room for the wide road. The travel was smooth as they marched along the rolling hills. Just before midday, a mildly panicked warden ran up to them. Prime Guardian Valant requests you immediately, Prince. Protectors, Thomas called. With me, all of you. He heard them stiffen behind him, but when he kicked on his justice to elope over the fields, over 100 protectors followed. Karsh rode backwards most of the way, to better watch and goad on the protectors. The moment Thomas reached the front of the column, his heart dropped. The column was at a halt. It's a bad day, he said with a sigh. Karsh, a little too focused on his immediate surroundings to notice the actual cause for the pause, first asked, "What so?" But he soon spotted the same incredible shadow that stood on the road ahead of them and interrupted himself. "Ooh," came the revised reply. "Bad day." Crouched on the road that led down into the valley was a full-grown blue dragon. Its long neck was curled around itself like a sleeping dog, but Thomas did not know if it was hiding or hunting. He could not see its eyes to tell if it was asleep or simply not hungry yet. The blue scales were a matted shade, but the bone-white spikes that decorated the beast's spine and head gleamed under the sun. The tail mirrored the neck in the opposite direction, creating a spherical boulder of scales, horns, and teeth directly in his path. It was the size of a wealthy man's house. The closest view Thomas had ever had of a dragon had been one flying overhead at 3 times this distance, and even then the shadow had sent a tremor to his soul. Now the sight of the beast itself seemed to stop his heart. The protectors and prime guardian all looked on with tightly controlled expressions of concern. No one was willing to be the first to panic. "Am I the only one who's never seen one this close before?" Thomas asked. No one had a voice to answer with. "Why isn't it leaving? Running away?" "Running?" Valant asked. "Why run? Except for the finest crafted swords, which we have few of, no weapon can pierce its scales. And if it started to blow fire, it could kill 100 of us with each breath. We should be the ones running away, my prince. We do not even have any dragon hunters among us." Thomas cast a sweeping glance over the valley. To the east, the river cut a fast and deep route through the steep rocks and was impassable. To the west, the land looked like it had been stomped, the hill suddenly dropping down a dozen paces. The road was straight and smooth, lolling down the valley and then winding between the hills toward the northwest. If nothing else, Prince Poltheon maintained his roadways well. What would the prince think of a dragon taking up residence on the main road to the capital? Going around will be treacherous, Valant decided. Shall we march south? Head for... I'd rather not wait for it to be hungry, Thomas said. Celebrand? Karsh offered. Esperan and Outland folk tales said that dragons had been created by the goddess Inak at the dawn of the world to fight the demons who had laid waste to the earth. If anyone could convince the dragon to move, it would be a Celebrand. But the only Celebrant Thomas could call on was Sedgen or Loney. Loney was unpredictable, and he would be treading on egos if he asked her to try. But Thomas was not confident in Sedgen. Sedgen had the favor of Inak with him at all, and sending a forsaken Celebrant to meet a messenger from the goddess could see the unfortunate man dead. Thomas worried what effect that would have on the morale of his men. In the distance, the dragon shifted to look up at them. The long neck unfolded and the spikes bristled. The head tilted curiously. We don't have to go too far, Thomas mused aloud. At least it's a blue. They aren't known for hunting people. They provide livestock or horses or... I'm thinking about it backwards, he realized. It wasn't one of the more violent red or blacks. Blue dragons were smaller, calmer, and could be bargained with. The dragon was not an obstacle. It was a boon. Inak had sent him a guardian. Knowing honest justice would be a hindrance, Thomas dismounted as he gave his orders. Valant, get me 4 horses. Buy them if you must, but I want them tethered immediately on the crest by the river. The owners had better not expect them back. Dems, Karsh cursed when he realized what Thomas was doing. Karsh, dismount, I need you, he called. Thomas took his first uneasy step toward the dragon. Nah, I know. Get it, Thomas snapped. The order roughly translated to get to it, and ended any riding command situation. The conversation was over. If Karsh did not get off his horse now, he would be blatantly disobeying Thomas. Karsh leaped down from Bashurin, and his steps were slow as he advanced into Thomas's shadow. My prince, Valant shouted behind them. What are you doing? I'm going to talk to it. Get those horses on that hill, Valant. I need them by the time I reach the dragon. So hurry. And that concludes the reading. Thank you very much for listening. Remember to sign up for the newsletter through the website for updates because there's more coming, fast and furious. And as always, enjoy the adventure.